Welcome to Rayleigh Farm and Field. I want to show you, you've seen this tractor before. It's our Farmall 140, and I've got all the implements off of it right now. I broke a rear tine in the back, or the little brace that holds it to the tractor. And we plant with this, we cultivate with it, we lay it by. This is our fertilizer hopper, and you've seen this tractor several times on YouTube, but I want to show you something different. Now, our corn across the road and in different places where we keep our corn isolated, our corn is probably 6 feet tall, just about everywhere. And we've already laid it by and we're done with it for the year, except I have 2 small fields that I'm going to plant some Hastings prolific in. And so we're not going to use the Farmall. And what I want to show you is something that I picked up in Missouri. This is an international 350 utility. And I bought it in Missouri a couple of weeks ago, went up there, trailered it back, and I put new tires on it. I had to put 2 rear rims on it. The rims were kind of in bad shape, and we put new rubber on it. I painted it myself. But I love these old Internationals because in 1988, I bought my first tractor. I had a little orange grove in Florida, and it was an International 350 utility. And many years later, I sold it, and I always missed that tractor. So I found this one in Missouri, and it had always been in a barn. It was in great mechanical shape. It had never been outside in the dew. It had always been cleaned up and lubricated well and kept in a barn. Brought it home, put new tires, like I said, and painted it. It's not a showpiece. I wouldn't want to call it a museum piece or a parade piece by any means. We work with all of our equipment. We farm, and I painted this with Rust-Oleum International Red with cans. So, but what we're going to do, we're going to plant some late corn. And it's middle of June, and you never plant corn after the middle of June here in Alabama. So we're going to plant kind of on the very end of the planting season. And the reason I'm doing it is at night, it's still 59 to 60 degrees at night. So we're going to plant one little area, two small areas in Hastings prolific, and just to see how this does. And I want to show you what's behind it. This is not an international planter. Now, I've had this planter over a year, and this is what you call a Ford 309 planter. And a friend of mine named Zenas Windsor, about 30 miles from here, he's a farmer and a preacher, Baptist preacher. He's pushing 90 years old, a good friend of mine. He plants all of his corn with a Ford 309 double row planter, just like this. And I found one, and I planted a lot of fields, my bigger fields, last year with it, and it did great. Now, for all of the Farmall enthusiasts, I have not abandoned the Farmall. I still use my Farmall, but we're going to do something a little different today. We're going to plant with an International 1958 International 350 utility, pulling a Ford 309 double row planter. And this is a gas burner, but the little old tractor runs great. It's a 42 horsepower tractor, and I'm real happy to have this unit on the farm now. So come along with us, and let's go plant a little Hastings prolific corn. prolific, and we sell a lot of Hastings. And we kind of split the field up. We planted the front side, and we have a weak area right here where the crows hurt us when the plants were about 2 inches tall. And then we planted up here, the upper part of the field, and we did not plant this area right in here because for some reason it held a lot of moisture in the ground. We had a lot of heavy rain, so it clumped up, and I've had to let it dry out, and it's still got a lot of clumps in it, but we're going to plant this little middle section right now. And I wanted to show you again this International 350. It's what they call a fast hitch. It has, it's a two-prong system. There's a hitch there and one over there, so it's a fast hitch. It's a 2-point hitch, but they made an adapter many years ago, and that's this piece right here, this 3-point adapter, 2 prongs going to the hitch, and so you don't have a top link from the back of the tractor to the implement. You've got a short top link. It's only about 7-8 inches long right here. And I couldn't find one, so what I did, I made one out of a lawnmower blade. And it seems to work real good. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna plant this field in Hastings Prolific, and we're gonna see how it does. It's late in the year. But for all of you that follow us that love the Hastings Prolific, this is one of our main fields that we plant. It's about a 2.5–3 acre field, and we'll bring it out with our corn picker and a wagon probably in November, put it in the corn crib and let it dry more in there, and then we'll shell it in February. So let's see how this set up, the International tractor with a Ford planter. Let's see how it does. I'd like you to see this Ford 309 planter a little closer. I know I've showed you up close of the Farmall planter. These 309s were made, I think, in the late 60s and early 70s, and they were all over Alabama, and they're still being used in Alabama. But this is what it looks like. It's just a kind of an all-purpose planter. This is Hastings Prolific seed we put in here, and it's got the 2 seed hoppers. It's got a fertilizer spreader. We had to rebuild the fertilizer spreader. I had to put new bearings on it. And we're doing something a little different in this fertilizer. Normally I plant with 1313, and then later when the corn's about knee high, I'll come by and lay it by with either ammonium nitrate or calcium nitrate. But it's so hot right now, it's later in the year, it's middle of June, we're going to use 888. We're not going to put a whole lot of nitrogen in it because of the heat. So let's see, again, let's see how this setup works with the International and the Ford. Well, we're through planting that Hastings field, and we've come over to a place where we start a lot of our seed off. This is a very isolated garden spot. This was my great uncle's place. His son owns it today, and his daughter lives here, and it's an isolated spot where we start out a lot of our seed. And what we're going to do, we're going to plant some Creek Indian corn. Now, I want to tell you what happened in the other field. I was kind of upset with my new planter, my 309 Ford. the wheel kept binding up on it, and I kept having to get out, and the fertilizer part was binded up, and I couldn't figure out what was binding it. So I took the chain off of the drive for the fertilizer applicator, and I went ahead and finished planting the field without any fertilizer. And you know, sometimes that's perfectly fine. A lot of people never put fertilizer out when they plant it, and then they'll come back later and fertilize, and that's what we'll have to do in that one field. But I want to tell you what happened. It wasn't the machine's fault. The control back here for the fertilizer was off. It was on zero. So the wheel was turning and it was binding because there was no place for the fertilizer to go. So what we're going to do this time, we're going to put it over here about midway. It's where I normally have it, and I don't think that's going to bind up this time. But let me show you this seed. This corn seed right here was given to us 3 years ago by Buck Mills, and this is Creek Indian corn. We are probably the only company in the United States. There just went my grandson in there. But this is Creek Indian corn. It's tough to compete with 2 6-year-olds.